Hello, Internet. Welcome to that Silverline show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I'm joined, as always, by Jose Fuentes.
I know this guy.
Brent Larson.
Yes, I know Jose also.
And Ron Fortier.
Howdy, y'all.
There we go. And tonight we'll be talking about New Year's goals for comic creators. So not just our own goals, but the art of setting goals and making them achievable, making your plan to go from A to B to C, and understanding what's realistic, what you can set for your 1 month goal to your 1 year goal to your 5 year goal. And if you're just getting into comics, and if getting a job at Marvel is your 1 month goal, good luck with that.
Not to say that it can't happen.
Sure, you probably need to engineer like an accident involving an editor over there that you can then save them from. You know, that kind of. But like you said,
or a hostage situation. I mean,
yeah. If you can find Hickman or Aaron's child, and
right.
But no. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. And Rory, thank you for the compliments. Rory Boyle, Tuesday Show alumni, as well as co-creator of Steam Patriots. And follower and subscriber of my Twitch channel, which you can do too at the link in the thing. I stream sometimes, not as often as I have because I need to fix my internet at the new location. But yes. How was the FL show?
Florida.
Yeah. It was at a Florida con recently. I know I was not. I know Roland was.
I have not. I took 2 months off of conventions, and it was so nice. And when February gets here, I'm going to be like scrambling. Where did I put everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not been doing that either.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, I mean, we can get into that right away, because that is a goal that if you're at any stage in your comic career, until maybe you hit the super veteran status where your name itself is the marketing material, attending conventions or shows should be a goal at some point in your career, because it is one of the best ways to get people to actually interact with your book as well as you as a person, because if you're just relying on the internet and Kickstarter without social media, or even if you are good at social media, sometimes on the internet there is just a lot of noise to try and punch through, and so building that in-person relationship with your readers can go a long way. So Jose, you took 2 months off, but your goals for this year, how many shows do you have slated, or are you hoping to attend?
February, March. 5 so far?
5 so far, 3 and 4 in March?
3 in March and one in February, and then I think 1 in April, or is it one of the two? But I'm going to be coming out to see you, Tim. Well, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, I believe I should be able to head up that weekend and
awesome.
Hang a little bit in Seattle. So that is already, taking 2 months off to go straight into a slew of cons. On those ones in March, are they all in the same geographic location, or are you driving cross?
The other 2 in March are local. They're here in Florida.
Okay.
Emerald City is the only one that's out of the state,
right?
So far, but that's just up until June. You know what I mean? And then I have, should be going to New York City Comic Con, and I plan on going to Miami SuperCon again this year as well.
Good. So when we talk about the idea of planning out your year of con attendance and setting that goal, at what point do you start that process? Is it like the summer of the year before, or is it kind of just?
For me, because of the nature of my wife's job, we can pretty much leave whenever, but she has to have coverage. My wife is a midwife. She can't just up and abandon mamas that go into labor. So
Yeah.
I have to plan a little further in advance. And I try my best to plan a show directly, if I can, directly after the show is over. So like as soon as I find out when the next following year date is going to be, that's usually when I write it in my calendar. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm locked in, especially for things like SuperCon, New York City Comic Con. You still have to, like I do anyway. I'm not Ron Fortier, everyone loves, but I
Right.
I have to apply for shows, you know what I mean, and wait to get accepted for that. But last year it was really just I was doing a lot of local shows mostly. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Even a few shows that were just starting off. It's like, oh hey, I'll give you a table if you do some artwork for me. It's like, since we're just starting out, it's like, yeah, no problem. Like or the table cost was like minimal. And then honestly, it took my wife saying, hey, you need to start doing bigger shows. And I'm like, I kind of like the little shows. She's like, yeah, big fish. I was like, okay, big fish, little pond. You know what I mean? Idea. I was like,
Yeah.
I get that. Okay, no problem. So I, took a risk and I applied for SuperCon in Miami, which is a big one. And then I got accepted for that one. I was like, you know what? I'll just try for New York. And I didn't even tell her about it. And I was like, I was in that mood. I just went ahead and applied. And then I got in. I'm like, Deb.
Nice.
I got into New York City Comic Con. She's like, what? Yeah. Like, okay, what's the date? I'm like, it's this date. She's like, okay, I'll start calling to make sure I got coverage. So I'm like, all right, cool.
That's awesome. So your New Year's goals kind of start the same month the year before. And so that's also something that Roland is talking about in his class, and something that I mostly do conventions in the cosplay and anime space, since I interact with voice talent there. And trying to do too many different convention circuits and working a full-time job is difficult. So, but so something that I also recommend is, if you're wanting to work at a con or table at a con as a comic creator, and that's your goal, is to table at so many cons in a year to go to Comic-Con, go as a fan the year before. You have to pay the ticket price, but it gives you a chance to see what it's like, develop a game plan, as well as the last day when they announce the dates. There'll also be usually somewhere in the materials also these are the dates for applying for a table or as a creator. And that way you don't necessarily feel like a fish out of water your first time in. You are still going to feel like that, but hopefully a little bit less so.
Well, you get to talk to other people too. Like you get to come up to like artists or whatever, an artist alley, and just ask them questions. I mean, as long as they're not terribly busy, because some people will be really busy. You really don't want to occupy their time like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To just start picking their brain. But if you're like, hey, if you got a minute after the show, or if you got like, if you don't mind me contacting you, asking you questions about the show, because I want to consider, I'm considering setting up next year. You know what I mean? I have never run into a problem where someone said, no, dude, I won't talk to you about it. You know what I mean? Like, even as like, hey, here's my email address. Send me, ask me some questions if you want, or here's my social media. That hit me up with a message. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah. That's always ask someone, find a creator that like you maybe follow online or something, and then ask them, one, how the food court is, and then two, how far away is their booth from the bathroom.
Where is the taco truck?
Yes.
How far am I from the taco truck?
Yes.
Or
Ron.
how far is coffee?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Real.
Ron, you've obviously had a storied career in comics, being in it for maybe a month or two longer than the rest of us. But with your experience in planning out conventions and con attendance, has that changed for you, or is that still like setting those goals the same as it was back in the day of?
Well, I mean, no, it's changed drastically. I mean, from the time I was starting out my career, I mean, I had an agent back in the day, and within 4 or 5 months of signing on with this guy, he's basically like, all right, pack your bags, you got to come to San Diego. All right. And I mean, we're talking like, the late 80s, 1980s. And up until that time, I had a few independent comics published with a couple of small outfits. but it was enough to bring me to his attention. And he was repping a lot of guys who work for Marvel in DC, and seen some of my comics. And like I said, gave me a call and said, I'd like to rep you. And I was still doing the day job at that time. And the comic writing was done on the side, trying to get a foothold in the business. So like I said, immediately 1988, he's like, we got to get you out here to San Diego. And, you know, I'm listening to you talk with Jose, and the whole point of breaking into the business is actually networking. It's how many people you can meet and get to know, especially those on the other side of that table, the other professionals, the editors, the publishers, and whatever. And so, you know, my wife and I talked it over, and God bless her, she supported me from day one, you know, doing this. And so within, I think we were 2 or 3 months away from the con, and we booked the hotel room, we booked our flights, and off to San Diego we went. That proved so beneficial in that I left that weekend with the assignment to write Terminator for Now Comics. And then within 6 months later, they got the license to the Green Hornet based on the comic proposal I had brought with me and gave to them. And again, that's another thing, you know, for any young would-be creator looking to go to a con, especially if you're going to go to a big show with a lot of industry professionals, then have something ready to show them. Have a portfolio. For an artist, have a portfolio to show them your artwork. And not just pretty pinups, but sequential pages, those kind of things. And if you're a comic writer, it's a little harder, i.e., get things published. Get involved with small independent press. Get some of your stories published. Take those to a con and hand them out to an editor of a company you'd like to get to know a little better, all right? With your business card, contact information. You don't have to stand there longer than 5 minutes and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. This is what I've done. I really like what you guys are doing. My business card's in there, and here, enjoy this comic. That's it. Move on. You know, let them talk to other people. And who knows? You know, it's like fishing and trolling. You might get a bite, all right?
Yeah.
So again, going back, I went back to San Diego, obviously, the following year because of the success of that first year. And then from then, I didn't do a lot of cons. I did New York one year. I did Dragon Con another year down in Atlanta, just trying to keep active with my career. But then after about 10, 15 years, now disappeared a lot. We had the big, you know, implosion. A lot of the small, great companies like First Comics and Eclipse and all that died away. And so it was like falling back on doing small independent stuff again. And there wasn't a real need to do big shows. I found myself doing small cons in the New England area, up in Maine, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and whatever. Now, all these years later, ever since moving out here to Colorado, I mean, we retired from, we always kept a day job. That's a point I do want to make. All the years that I wrote, you know, professionally, and I'm still doing it, from that first year, I never gave up the day job because it provided my family security. It paid for medical bills, for insurance. You know, we had 5 kids that we were bringing up. You know, ultimately they were off to college and all those kind of things. And we were lucky enough to work for a big corporation like General Electric, which really had awesome benefits. So that security was crucial to me. Most of the writing I would do then was at night when the rest of the family was all asleep. And that was my, you know, my me time. I'd be out, and, you know, I didn't have an office. I was in my kitchen on the kitchen table. And I started pounding away on a Smith & Corona, and when computers came in, shifted over to those, whatnot. But anyways, after retiring with a full pension from the day job, a few years later, that was it. We packed our bags, left New England, came out here to Colorado. And it was really strange because the year after we got to Colorado, Denver had its first ever giant convention. And almost immediately, I got an invitation online from the people running the con. They had found out I was living here in Colorado through various, again, networking. I knew Mike Barron and other people that lived out here. Mike and I are neighbors, and Mike had put in my name with some of the con promoters. So, you know, Valerie and I said, well, what the heck? All right, let's go to the big Denver con that summer. So off we go. We get down to the exhibition hall in the center of Denver. That first year, they had 24,000 people.
Dang.
Okay, fun convention, great show, met a lot of nice people. Obviously, we're going to come back the following year, get an invite again for the following year. We go down to the following year, and they had over 60,000 people in 1 year. Then we're sitting like maybe 25 feet in front of a heavy metal rock band that's pounding away all weekend long. People are coming up to my table, and guys, this is no lie, I can't hear what they're saying to me. I get this like migraine going on in the back of my head, right? My wife is totally disgusted by now, right? The crowds are so huge, people can't stop and talk to you. That was it. To us, that was that little turning point of reevaluating that after we got home that weekend of how much do we really need this? I mean, I've had a career. It's been awesome. Whatever I do moving forward, maybe I'll look at smaller cons locally just to keep active in it, to keep, you know, my finger in it, to meet people, maybe, again, you know, teach, help younger creators come into the business and support them as much as I can. And that's been pretty much it since then. That was like 20 years ago. And these days I do two cons in Colorado, both mid-sized shows. I'm always a regular at Free Comic Book Day, which is a really big deal for the comic shop here in town. And occasionally I'll do a show in nearby Nebraska, Scotts Bluff, which is a 2-hour drive, which I can make in one day and come back. It's a one-day show. They hold it in the middle of all places, a shopping mall, which is a lot of fun. But anyways, that's it. I mean, it's basically mid-sized shows where I can, you know, hawk the new stuff I'm doing now. I have that at my table, you know, the different projects I'm working with and whatever. But again, I think the real fun of doing the shows now, more than anything else, really, is meeting young creators, being the other guy on the table now who maybe can offer people advice on how to get their career going. I have people leaving me comics they want me to read and look at, or artwork. All right, and basically, I give them my email. Drop me a line. Any questions you have, I'd be glad to, you know, answer them if I can. Put you in whatever direction I can, or whatever. So that's basically my year convention, 3 or 4 small size cons, and that's more than enough.
That's better as well. Roy pointed out, you know, like doing the local shows, to cover those small like $0 setup ones that are in like malls and other communal spaces. Oh, we have a couple that happen in our local libraries that I enjoy quite a bit, because I know that I'm not necessarily there for business. I'm there to make a kid's afternoon. So. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Families go through these places like libraries or malls, and the kids are dragged along with mom and dad. Oh, we got to go shopping or this or that, right? But then they see these tables with us guys with comic books and posters, and they're like, whoa, you know, it's like, all right, we hit the bonanza today. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I've gotten to the point where in most of the shows I do, and again, because they're mid-sized, they're local, Colorado and whatever, I usually have a stack of a lot of my Mr. Jigsaw comedy superheroes on my table. And if I see kids going by who don't have comics in their hands, I'll give them away free. I'll just stop some little kid with his folks and say, hey, you like comic books? Yeah, here you go. You know, the folks look at me for a second like, you know, you have a high, no, it's free. Let them have it. You know, just go enjoy, you know. Yeah.
Very cool.
Kids, you like comics? Go wash my car. I'm in slot A14.
Brent, I imagine that also your schedule probably looks so interesting, since I know you also work, but Do you also engage in? I know I mentioned that I also do the cosplay type stuff mostly. I imagine you also participate in probably like film festivals and things like that, working in the film industry, where now you're splitting your time between these multiple avenues of networking and
I thought you were
great
going to
engagement.
if he does cosplay. I was like, please, Brent, show us pictures. That would be amazing.
No, sorry, man. I can show you pictures of when I was a kid dressing up for Halloween a while ago. I don't actually. I'm doing festivals a lot less frequently too, largely just because. Well, there's a couple of reasons, but one, to be honest, is why I'm not doing a lot of convention work now. Is it's my wife's got some health problems, and as such, it makes it harder for me to get away for more than a couple of hours. And two, I don't know. I'm in a weird place in my comics career where I'm saying, buy my book, or if you don't want to, don't worry about it. In fact, if you want some recommendations for some stuff that's better than mine, I can probably give you that too. I don't know. I'm really not a good self-promoter, and whenever, like, I really enjoyed when Silverline was at Daytona. And really, that was really all I would do every year. The last few years, that's all I've really done. And I realize it would probably up my stock, and I know Merlin's probably thinking it would probably up Silverline's too if I went to more of these. It takes a lot of mental energy for me. So I don't know if I'm ever going to change. I'm really. Kids, don't do what I'm doing. Listen, everyone else.
I'm a cautionary tale.
I'm a cautionary tale in the making. Yes, I'm going to be a comic amateur who struggled and then probably wound up, I don't know, working at a movie theater in his old age. And that's
positive.
What?
You work in a movie theater, you get to watch movies for free.
Oh, no, I'm not saying this is a bad outlook for me. I'm just saying for people who really want to make it go, like Ron started early and hit all the high notes. Like, I think I've missed half the high notes already, and I didn't even know it until it was all over. So, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can always have like kind of a weird, like, I think also that your goals can always change with your career and how you want to proceed with what you've already created. Because, I mean, on the film side, we have guys like, Morgan Freeman, who didn't really break out until after he's 50, right? But then on the comic side, you can think about guys as prolific as Alan Moore, right? And his books were big when they're coming out, but they've gotten massive since he retired from writing,
right?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
totally.
And it's just the way he's handled business since. And so it might be like those things where you handle your life in seasons, and like your goal for this season is creating, and then you get to a point where your goal for a season is marketing.
Yeah. And the capacity is such, I imagine it grew from. I would actually like to know the answer to that. Like, Alan Moore never seemed like a guy who would stoop to even do any kind of marketing, and yet now I think he's even doing a master class. So it's like somewhere along the lines he was able to reconcile his own ultra anti-establishmentarian worldview into something that's actually marketable. So I'm like, wow. I wonder how we did that.
And Rory, you can go back, and anyone watching or listening, you can go back to our back episodes on YouTube or podcast services around the globe. And we do have an episode from December where we talked about cosmic level, god level characters in comics, and we did hit on some different religious aspects from all of us.
Hang in there, because I know for a fact that Roland's giving a whole lot of thought to doing a special podcast one night on the subject of faith in comics, and hit up yours truly and a couple other people, and kind of hoping that that comes about, because it's a lot of great food for thought. But anyways, I mean, the whole point of just the four of us. I mean, it's a case of looking at the industry where you are in certain parts of your life and how all that evolves and changes as you get older. Again, it's just like it's hard for me sometimes to sit back and try to remember myself when I was like 24 or 25 and had this dream, this ambition, if you will, this hunger to make, to become a comic book writer. All right. And then achieving that after a lot of hard knocks and a lot of rejections, holding on to it, finding out how tenuous that is, what you do once you've gotten there, and then watching it play out and balancing it all the time with my family life. And the older I got, and I was, I'm writing now, okay, I'm doing this thing. The older I am getting, the more I'm coming to the understanding that it's a wonderful thing to make your dreams come true, but it's not the priority in my life. And that's my family. And that's my friends. And so it's like, okay, I mean, at one point I was just, Ron 40 of the factory worker guy. And then, through a series of events and life twists, I became Ron 40 of the factory guy / comic book writer, right? But all through that, I was still Ron Fortier, husband, father, brother, friend, and that's who I really am. Okay, so anyone listening to the show tonight, hey, I'm not trying to douse any of your dreams. If you're in your 20s and you got that energy, all right, surging through you, if you get that imagination firing on all cylinders, man, go for it. Please, I'm the first one that's going to tell you to go for it. All right, just get out there and blaze your own path and make it happen. Whereas if you're somebody who's in their 40s or 50s, and it's like, what are you going to do if you haven't achieved those dreams? You're gonna like kick a stone down the road and cuff and swear or consider yourself a failure? You're not. All right, it's just reevaluate what you look at that period of your life, and look at the things that aren't ever going to change. All right, the things that will always support you. All right, that'll always be that real priority. And that rest of it, I mean, hey, it's fun, it's beautiful. I thank the good Lord for it every single day. I'm still doing it. Mm-hmm. What the heck? When I saw the theme for our show tonight, what's your goal? I mean, quite honestly, my only goal is to get up tomorrow morning. All right, because if I can do that, I'm a happy camper. I'm at that point in my life now. All right, and if you guys are out there writing and doing what you like, and it satisfies you and other people and gives you a happy life, it doesn't matter if you're not the next, Denny O'Neil, or you're not the next Alan Moore. All right, I've got friends who've been writing comics for the past 30, 40 years nobody's ever heard of. They print their own comics, they publish their own comics, they work together like they did when they were 15. Now they're in their 30s and 40s and still doing this because they love comics.
Yeah.
Right? And that's got to be the center. If you don't love the media, then what the heck are you busting your hump for?
That's the one thing Roland said when he first basically interviewed me and whatnot to work for Silverline, was like, listen, you have to love comics. Like, if you don't love comics, then not just, oh yeah, I'm a huge comic fan, but I collect comics. No, you have to love the process. You have to love what you're doing. You have to love, what I mean? If you don't, you're gonna either burn out or just be sick of it. And I do. I probably wouldn't have said that in my 20s. You know what I mean? Right. But it took my wife saying, what do you want to do? Like, when she finished midwifery school, and I'm like, I don't know, work in a factory till I die. She's like, no, what do you want to do? Seriously. And I had to think about it. I'm like, well, I kind of want to work on comics. Like, I think that I hit that phase in my life. Like, I'm drawing on everything.
Mhm.
Like I'm drawing on everything, and my boss is asking me what am I drawing today? You know what I mean? While I'm at work. So like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to enjoy that aspect of making comics. I love the process of it. And that's what got me to go to art school. And then so when I talked to Roland about it, I'm like, yeah, I love doing that. Like I love comics. I love the process. I don't always love every comic, and I try not to get involved in any of the politics, because if you get involved in the politics, it can sour it for you very quickly.
Don't start Twitter beef.
Regardless of which side you believe in, which side you agree with, regardless, I am only 21. Yeah.
Look what comics has done to me.
Right?
Well, I mean, I think that's
We're all
also
comics.
we've been talking about, like, loving it. I think that's something that I think we all can agree on, is that, we're all, various ages, but when it's Wednesday afternoon or evening and we're in the shop, we're all 6.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember when Kalis issue 1 started rolling out, and a couple of my friends were kind of talking to me about it, and one of them is a colleague at work, and he's like, Brent's gonna quit and become a famous comic book writer. And I said, I don't actually think there is such a thing. The fact is, it really is a labor of love. You're not gonna make a killing working in comics. You have to love it, or else you really need to try something else.
Yeah.
So and that is kind of the fun about the whole thing. The guys who I know plenty of guys who are in the film business, and for whatever reason are irritated most of the time, either that their ideas aren't being bought into, or that it's about money, or that they've lost creative control, or that they were fired off projects that they started. I don't have to worry about any of that nonsense. I work in comics, and I know there's, once you get into the big times, then maybe it's harder, but I'm not there yet, and I'm okay where I'm at.
I think it's one of those things where also comics have I think one of the things I love also about the business of comics is it has the widest variation of what success can look like.
Right.
And that ties into setting your goals as well as, like, your goal for your career. What is your end goal? And I said that, my goal is that some kid picks up my book from a library and has a great 30 minutes during their recess. And I've already achieved that goal. So now I got to, get in more middle schools, I guess. But but I mean, even something like Tim Seeley, who is, worked on Marvel, worked on DC, created Hackensack, one of the biggest indies, is now working on it. But at the same time as working on Marvel, his new baby project is a thing called No Place. That's coming through a brand new press called Ignition, which actually I like a lot of their offerings. Which is this metaphysical horror mystery where characters from mythological worlds are converging in our world. So the leader of this organization called No Space is Dorothy from Oz. Right. A very cool concept, and like it's like Dorothy and Oz and people who've gone to other worlds fighting against Lovecraftian horror that's eating up mythological worlds. Very cool concept. And he can just do that, and like has free roam to add whatever visual effects he has. Whereas you take that to film, you need to get budget for those effects, which means you have to talk to a producer, which means you have to align with the producer wants the film to do, and you need to get brands on board. Scott Pilgrim, right? One of the biggest properties ever. Started out as a web thing.
That I didn't know.
It was very small, and then he got print. But yeah, it's if you want to, you can make and Lore Olympus also is huge now. It just got its hardcover release and is getting adapted.
Which one?
Lore Olympus.
That's a beautiful book.
It's a beautiful book. It's a webtoon.
Yeah, that's a beautiful webtoon.
Yeah, you can make. They made that for free and published it for free via webtoons. Like, you can do that and then still find your avenues to success. Or if your goal is just to be big on webtoons, like there's another guy, I can't remember his name. He does YouTube stuff as well, but he mostly just does webtoon type stuff. And he's like, this is what I want to do. I don't want I don't want to work on Marvel. I want to do comics through webtoons.
We had a dude on that we interviewed that does webtoons.
Yeah.
The guy was it Lavender Jack?
Lavender Jack? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that, and so if your goal is I want to be successful in comics, you don't necessarily need to tie that to the idea of like I need to work at Marvel or I need to work at DC. It can be I want this weird idea that I want to put on some sort of visual format. It can be paper, or it can be someone's screen, and then find some way to get it out there.
I will tell you, when I first started, like deciding like, oh, I want to go to school for this. I want to work on comics. It was a whole lot of, I want to work for DC and draw Green Lantern. That's all. Mm-hmm. I just want to draw lanterns everywhere. Right. And then it kind of evolved into, I just want to make something my kids are going to be proud of. Right. I want to make something that my kids can pick up. Look, my dad worked on this. Yeah. My dad did the art for this. My dad, whatever. Right. And, or somewhere finding one of my books randomly in the wild, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because it happened at my local shop. Like my local shop called me up, like, Jose, you need to come down here. I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? He's like, dude, I found your first book. I'm like, with Silverline? He's like, no, your first book. Like, I self-published and whatnot. I go, oh, okay. So I ran down there. Someone had donated a box of comics and it was in there. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
That's insane. I mean, similar like Macaulay Culkin hasn't told his kids that he was Macaulay Culkin, so his kid just watched Home Alone, and he's like, "Wow, that kind of looks like you, Dad." He's like, "Yeah, it kind of does." So always waiting for the moment where his kid will find out. But yeah,
well, I've got to share this story with you guys. I mean, this to me, we're talking about how, how you get successful or how it happens. And trust me, a lot of times, aside from the blood, sweat, and tears, there's also a whole lot of luck involved in all of that. All right. I mean, big time. And one of my all-time favorite stories, because I met the guy, I told you, I did San Diego 2 years in a row. And the first year I was there, I met a guy named Bill Cunningham. And he was a young writer, just breaking into the business, and had written his first ever series for Malibu, the old company now defunct. Okay. And he'd written a 4-issue miniseries about government agents who were checking out alien infestation on Earth. And he called it Men in Black. Okay. Well, the kicker is Malibu had faith in it, got an artist for it, and published all 4 issues. And it pretty much bombed. So what they did was, whether 89 or 90, they had stacks of them left in their warehouse. So they invited Bill to come to San Diego. He was going to come anyways, and to spend at least an entire day at their table signing copies of Men in Black. They basically just gave them away for free. They weren't selling them. They just wanted to get rid of them. Well, somewhere in the course of that day, this young husband and wife team from LA, they were new wannabe film producers. And they were going, this is way back before this became the habit, right? They were going through to the Comic Con, which then it was still, again, pretty much 99% comics, orientated. They were going around buying comics that nobody had ever heard of, that they thought might have potential to option. And they'd go around all day long, buy all these different independent comics, not from Marvel or DC, but from outfits like Malibu or Eclipse, First Comics, right? Go back to their hotel rooms at night and read through these things. And if they thought any of them had a potential, go back the following day and get an option from the creator. Sure enough, they come back to the Malibu table specifically to see Bill, pull them aside, tell them who they are, and they want to option this thing. You're going to give them couple $1,000s to option it for a couple of years. Bill goes, what the hell? I mean, the book's a failure anyways. Malibu doesn't want anymore. Okay. What the heck? I'm going to make a few bucks on this, signs the paper, and they exchange contact information, and off they go. So I think like 5 years go by and Bill doesn't hear anything until one day he gets a phone call, and it's the producer saying, you know, our contract expired. Bill goes, oh, I wasn't even aware. He said, well, we'd like to renew the option. Now, by now, it's like 5 years since anybody's even heard of the comic book. Bill renews the option for another 5 years. All right. Now we go another 2 or 3 years, and part of the thing this couple would do would go to all the studios and leave copies of their comic books with the head receptionist at the entrances to the studios where all the studio heads worked. And they ended up at what was Spielberg's outfit's name? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, they ended up at Spielberg's studios, okay? And they left copies of a bunch of comics, including the 4-issue run of Men in Black, because they had bought a bunch of them from Malibu that day, the con before they left, for no other reason to pass them out. And sure enough, within a couple days, weeks, who knows, one day Spielberg walks into his office, talking to his receptionist, walking to his own office, right past the reception, looks down at these comic books, knows what they are, and the producers had their business cards stapled to the back cover, right? So they pick up a few. He picks up a few comics he thinks might be interesting. Among them, the Men in Black. Takes him home that night. Next thing you know, these producers get a call. Next thing you know, Bill Cunningham gets a call. Steven Spielberg wants to look at Men in Black. Almost 10 years to the year they bought those comics from Bill at San Diego. That movie was made. Bill never gave up the rights to it. Got a chunk of every movie they ever made. Within, what was it, after the first, the second one, they did a Saturday morning cartoon show.
Mhm.
They did T-shirts, toys, and whatever. Bill made a killing, all right? And basically, Marvel decided they wanted to do more Men in Black for a little while to strike while the fire was hot. Got a hold of Bill. He ended up writing a few Men in Black for Marvel, all right? But again, it's the wonkiest story to success, all right? And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, you never know. You absolutely don't. It's just pure serendipity. All the stars line up, all right? And I've watched this happen, and I remembered meeting him, and he was the nicest guy in the world, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, all right? So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a good just takeaway from that is you can't really plan that kind of success.
Right.
Of course not.
Really, the only thing you can do is just make sure that you're doing the best you can with what you've got. So if you tell a really solid story and you make great characters and a story that has catharsis and strong themes and all this and that, and it doesn't go anywhere, I mean, the worst that happens is you can actually be proud of the story that you made. And the best is, Spielberg reads it, and then you can buy your own island or whatever it is he does with his money. I don't know. So
That's on my list.
either way, it's kind of a win-win. So
I mean, that's kind of what Stan Lee said when he's talking about how the ideas that he's coming up with early in his career is that he's like, I just made what I thought was cool because inevitably someone else will think it was cool too.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, and to get to that level of success, or any level of success we was talking about, to reach that career goal, every comic creator, and we've all talked about it, this is the first step, is you have to make your first comic. And if you are just breaking into the comics industry, or if you've been in it for a while, your annual goal might be to make another comic this year, or several, or what have you. And so talking about now our truncating our big career goals, and now the steps to it, some of the smaller goals that are the steps that we have to hit first. I've said the last podcast that my goal for this year is to do a transition to novel writing again a little bit, and do a on digitally published thing with like episodic chapter releases, almost like a comic where the chapters of the novel are released monthly via whatever site you get there. So my goal is to get to a pace where I can do that sustainably, release a chapter every month, edited and good to read and all that. And this idea of I'm trying to think of it's been a while since I've done courses on the thoughts. How do you assign language to thoughts, right? It's not reductive thinking, but essentially the idea is you take the big idea and you break it down. So that, and then also continuing to teach myself how to draw and all that. So I'll pop back up to Jose. So what is your creative goal for this year? And what are some of the steps along that way that you've thought about how you're going to hit that goal?
I mean, one is to finish all the stuff I'm working on right now. That would be lovely. Like, it almost seems to never end, which is a good problem, but creative goal. I think I'd like to do more coloring. Not necessarily like I enjoy doing it, but kind of on the side for funsies. But I think I want to try and work on more color stuff. I love inking. Penciling is already going to happen. So, man, that's a rough one because I'm really kind of almost touching on everything this year. Like dipping my toe in almost every part of the creative process except for writing, because I'm not the writer. I'll throw baseballs at you guys with like stuff like, here, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Right? Now make the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my forte. You know what I mean? I like coming up with creative scenarios, but writing, yeah, no, I'm not sure I can do that. Mm-hmm. But I want to get past my fear of actually drawing in front of people. I know it sounds really weird because I draw at conventions all the time, but I also
last week.
I still have those
millions.
You're wild. But that was my first time though. That was my first time like drawing on a live stream, and so I want to get comfortable with that. And like I said before, I'm going to start doing drawing streams on Whatnot. In fact, my first one is Thursday, and I'm a little nervous about it. So, yes.
The day that changed everything.
Yes.
That would be a wild evening.
Yeah.
Hammering stuff out quickly. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it. But yeah, just push myself and to get out there. When I first started doing conventions, it was like, hi, please buy my stuff. Look at my stuff. Okay, bye. Right?
No, I don't know where the bathroom.
A little more open, like, hey, how you doing? Check out my stuff, open it up, look at it. You guys can touch anything. You know what I mean? And but like even drawing, like I'll focus on drawing and not necessarily talking to people. And that's why I have my wife with me or my daughter to kind of help talk, so I don't have to. But now I want to be able to do both. I want to be able to talk to people, and like I think doing it online is going to help, get me to just be able to, I guess, converse with people randomly. You know what I mean? And I think that will help evolve how I talk with people, how I interact with people at conventions, because you know what I mean? I'm forcing myself to have to talk to people on stuff. My hair is like that dude from Stranger Things. Like is beautiful.
And Roy, to your early question, I'll probably be Wattpad, but I'm not sure yet. It'll be mentioned somewhere on my social medias, probably my Instagram and Blue Sky. But yeah, but we talked about when you talk about goals, one of the things that always gets hit on is it has to be something that's measurable and trackable, right? If your goal is to be a great writer, okay, cool. How do you know when you got there? But Jose already mentioned that your first action step on this your goal for this year is this Whatnot stream that you already have scheduled. So you already have that first checkbox that when you do it, you can mark that off as like, okay, first step on my goal completed. Right now I'm on the researching where I'm publishing so I can learn what their upload policies and cadence and all that look like. So that's my thing, is looking at different sites, and when I decide one, that's my first checkbox. Ron, what are some of your creative goals for this year? What are some of the thoughts that you have, and how you're breaking them down?
Well, I'm caught up. I'm caught in a bunch of series that I'm still writing ongoing. All right, so that's going to take up a lot of my time this year. And the Airship 27 publishing house that I run in Rob Davis, we've set a goal this year of cleaning up our inventory. We've got like almost 20 novels and anthologies that we want to produce and get out there. Okay, so that's company thing, mutual things, whatever. But personally, I've had a novel that I've wanted to write for a couple of years, which is basically a story that I heard about one of my all-time favorite Hollywood movies that I've loved since I was a kid. And over the years have amassed a lot of information about this particular film, the people who made it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what has happened is over the last few years, the realization to me was that the story behind the story, and those are the kind of things that have always fascinated me, all right, is as exciting and fascinating as the actual movie these people made. So what I've been doing in especially the last year, is more research into the lives of everybody involved, from the producers, the writers, the directors, special effects people, all that kind of thing, all right, of really getting to know their backgrounds, because what I'm going to try to do is write this as a novel, as a fictional or historical novel, all right? Of, one of these things where I'll probably start the book with the first page to the effect of, 75% of what follows actually happened.
75%.
The other 25% is me going to be adding a little color and flair and whatever. But I don't have to do that much of it, because if God willing, I can find the discipline and the time to sit down and get this dang thing written before the end of the year. I think it's going to be a book that a lot of people are going to be surprised by and maybe really enjoy. That's my big goal.
Yeah. And Chance, hi Victor as well. We're talking about goals for comic creators. So we talked about our big kind of we talked about convention goals and sort of business goals at the front. We talked about big career goals, and now we're talking about our annual creative goals. So kind of hitting all the steps of how it all ties together as one holistic picture. And Ron, it's also really, I like how you mentioned, finding the discipline, because I'm sure, you've created a lot of books, so you I thought you're probably already well acquainted with, but something that I always find myself talking to newer creators is that inspiration is the foulest mistress you'll ever come across. It is, the inspiration will give you the moment to put the initial idea, but actually making it is the discipline. That is putting in the hours when you don't want to write.
Yeah, that blank screen is the most daunting mountain you're ever going to climb. Count on it.
That was the hardest lesson I learned my first year art school, was the discipline, right? Mm-hmm. And even now, we all lapse, we all, got other things going on. I got freaking chickens that are driving me insane because they want a new house. But but you have to, my first year of school, I went through the first half of school, and by the second half of school, I started playing Assassin's Creed Origins. And when school started, I was still playing Assassin's Creed Origins, because Assassin's Creed is my favorite game, franchise, hands down, right? And man, I had my first panic attack my first year, because I realized I wasn't getting anything done, and assignments didn't get turned in, and I was freaking out. After that, I I couldn't breathe. I was having legit my first panic attack in my life, and I was like 41 years old, right? So like now, like because of that, I'm like, okay, I have pages to do. I have things I have to get done. I also want to add stuff to my portfolio. So I try my best that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, that's stuff for me, right? Spend time with the family. Family goes to bed. I'm going to work on a pinup. I'm going to work on a blank sketch cover, right? Monday is commission day. If I have commissions that I need to get done, I work on them on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, work during the day. Tuesday stream, Wednesday, Thursday is going to work on every other day. Like the rest of the 4 days are work on pages, except in the evening. Obviously, things change. Tuesday I got stream. I'm going to be doing live drawing on Thursday. Hop on Wednesday stream if I'm asked to hop on. But pretty much that's it. Like I have to set a calendar for myself, and if I don't, then I'm going to get distracted by everything else.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Years ago online, I found like somebody posted a list, 50 reasons why not to write.
Yeah.
There you go. I got to print that out. Yeah. All legitimate, Right.
Yeah, that was, I think it was, there's a couple, like there's a new Warcraft expansion, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and something else that came out when I was working on Wolf Hunter 1. I was like,
see?
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Odyssey is such a good game, and it's long.
It is long.
Probably the longest Assassin's Creed game I played.
Yeah, I haven't even touched Valhalla yet because I know that's going to be.
I'm not a big fan.
Okay.
I played through 70% of it, and I haven't gone back to it. I am playing Shadows though.
I've heard really good things. Yeah, Brent, what are some of your creative goals for this year, and how are you breaking them down into achievable chunks?
Well, for me, it's pretty basic, and that is that I write every night except Sunday, from 10 to 12 at night. Nice. And that's really non-negotiable. If I'm going to budge on it, then that's easy. I eat a lot of donuts and try to sit in such a way that I can hide my gut. That's large.
For a paltry price of $9.95, you can go to his Vimeo and watch his stream.
Actually, it's funny you guys were talking about video games because I love them too. I played God of War Ragnarok for most of 2025. It so huge, and yet I was like, I can't play it because I got to write. Then I had the last 2 weeks I was on vacation because of the holiday, so I've been working on the second draft of a novel I was writing, my first one, and I did Novel November with a couple of friends, and my goal was I have to edit a chapter a week, and I was pretty close to the end. So I said, I am going to finish this thing by the end of the year. And I hustled on it, and I spent more than 2 hours a day on it. And it helped that because my wife wasn't feeling good, we weren't able to travel, which actually gave me more time to work on it. And I nailed it. So at 4 p.m. On the 31st, I finished. It felt great.
Nice.
And then I played God of War Ragnarok for what felt like 12 straight hours. And I got to a place where I'm like, okay, I think I'm done with this game because it's killing me. So I'm really looking forward to moving on from that. But again, it really just underscored the fact that I want to be a writer. I enjoy video games. I feel like playing video games. I feel like doing a lot of things. But what I want is to be a writer, and you have to choose what you want if you really want to get that kind of satisfaction. And so when I'm thinking about this year, I'm thinking actually, first off, what I really want to do is really make a go at trying to make my novel is a lot better than the first draft. I eliminated like almost 90,000 words from the first draft, and it's still too long. And yet I'm already got ideas on how to work on it. I'm excited about it. And I'm hoping to make something that's starting to circle, publish, being publishable. Starting to think about how I will get it edited, how I would pursue publishing if I want to. If there's a way to do it without spending a lot of time on Instagram, because that just it leaks my soul basically. But I might have to find a way. So there's that. And then I enjoyed the process so much. I want to try writing another novel, frankly.
Yeah.
And I've learned enough that I think I could probably do it faster, which is exciting to me.
Yeah.
So there's that goal. And then, frankly, I'm excited about Kalis. I feel like I'm starting to reach the end game, and where the story is really going to start picking up. And the visuals I've had in my head for years, and the idea of actually having them in front of me is really exciting. So there's a lot I can pursue. Plus, Tommy Flormani came up with an idea a couple of years ago for a Silverline comic we could do together that I thought was so great that I can't get it out of my mind. So I would love to do that this year as well. So there's so many cool things to work on. And the cool thing about me having, I don't know, I still don't know how I did it, because most of my 30s was about me saying I was a writer, but not actually writing, and then feeling crappy about it every day, which is a great way to just die an early death. Thankfully, I've found a way to incorporate it in how I live my daily life. But the really nice thing about it is I now have this window of time every day that I can fill doing these things so that my goals actually seem achievable and not just like wishes.
Yeah.
Writers can wish up and down. Jose, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Creatives are all this way. The idea of we are creatives, we want to do something important, but then taking that thought and de-emphasizing it in light of everything else in our lives is so easy to do. So if you can find a way to get past that, then just pursuing your creative endeavor is just hugely rewarding. And so that's why I kind of look at this new year and with some level of excitement. I don't know if I'm going to finish anything, but I know I'm going to work on it, and I'm already excited. So
yeah. And sometimes your goals can just be that checkbox each day of I wrote for an hour.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a perfect place to end on when it comes to talking goals. Is just it's just the daily work. And so some end of stream housekeeping. Rory redeemed a Twitch reward. If you can also redeem this on my Twitch for chat points, but
yes.
Okay. Anyway.
Nice.
Rory,
yes.
you're the best.
Also, in terms of other things that talk about networking earlier came to my mind, but there was a really good place to talk about it. But something that's kind of funny. If you remember, friend of the show from like I think a year or two ago, Maddie Holly Rising, creator of Boston Metaphysical Society, been on the show a couple times, is now also a neighbor. So down the same kind of area, it's Maddie, Gail Simone, myself. We all go to the same comic shop. So
wow.
My thoughts, I guess, end notes go by Boston Metaphysical. It's friend of the show. But we'll be back next week, and did I close that tab? Of course I did. What are we talking about next week? We are. That's not how you spell calendar.
Wow.
I know, right? Professional writer. We are talking about, and that's the wrong calendar. Cool. All right.
When to stop working on comics.
When to stop working on a comic. So we're going to talk about the choices you have to make as a comic creator of either when does it say good enough, send it to the publisher, or when do you say this project isn't shaping up, I need to set it down and I might come back to it later.
Yeah. That is because artists can overwork a page, artists can overwork a pinup.
Yes. So I feel like a natural end on setting your goals is knowing when you can take some other person's word that you achieved it, because often as creatives, as we do our goals, we never achieve. We have to have someone else tell us, like, hey, you made it. Like, did I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
We're all waiting for that guy.
Yeah. Hey, before we get out of here, shout out to Dave, our old amigo.
Yes.
Thinking about you, buddy. Get well soon, okay?
Yes.
Do well quickly. Make sure they attach all the fingers.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Make sure they got the leg that says cut. Yes.
Love you, Dave.
But yeah, make sure Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday on their respective times, their respective shows. Yeah, I could agree with that.
Ron's like, get on my level, and we're trying our best, Ron.
Yes.
One rung at a time.
But we'll be back next week. But until that time,
Make
mine,
Make
Silverline.
Hey, this is Paul Pelletier. Make mine Silverline. Is that okay, Roland?